to welcome here back to Miami, Florida, as Wake Up Call is on site, on location, here in Miami, South Beach area, and enjoying this moment with you. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, broadcasting live from Miami, Florida, in my coverage of the College Football Playoff National Championship that capped off the 2025-26 season at Hard Rock Stadium. I was here just a few weeks ago for the Capital One Orange Bowl. I want to thank Eric Palms, Mike Leota, and the entire team, the entire Orange Bowl committee, for having me here just a few weeks ago for their quarterfinal round game inside of the College Football Playoff. They're one of the 6 bowls that is on the path to the national championship. And, of course, to be back here for the College Football Playoff National Championship, I want to thank Rich Clark. I want to thank the entire College Football Playoff Committee, Brett Daniels, and everybody at the College Football Playoff that has allowed me the opportunity to cover this College Football Playoff, to be able to do things in my career virtually and in person. And immediately from when they expanded from 4 teams to 12 teams, they have credentialed me to be on the road and be within these games, which has been fantastic. I've been out to the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, as well as the Capital One Orange Bowl, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. I have seen the College Football Playoff in the first round. I have seen them in the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and in the 2 years that they've had 12 teams, I've been at the College Football Playoff National Championship on site, on location, broadcasting from the premises of the game. So I cannot say enough and what it means to me to be credentialed and to, be a part of this opportunity. I've worked very hard over 22 plus years, said a lot of prayers. I've had a lot of moments with God where I didn't know how to do what was coming next, or what to do, or how to go about it. I'm just a big kid that's lived with these dreams of mine and always believed that I can. Don't believe there's anything I can't do. I believe everyone can be a superhero in our own right. And so it's by the grace of God and the goodness of God and just the favor of our almighty Lord, who has been so good to me, and I seek to always be better too. It's first and foremost a thanks to God. It's a thanks to my grandparents and my parents, to all my mentors, to all the businesses that have believed in me, and that, a lot of us have been together for many, many, many years, to all of my close friends that have become brothers and sisters. They're more family than they are simply friends, to my nieces, my nephews, my godson Noah, to everybody that hates my guts and thought I'd never make it, and to all the people, all the naysayers. I mean, please understand, the support is beautiful, but the hate is beautiful too, because neither one of them keeps me from working. This fire that's inside of me is not connected to the opinions of others. It's connected to my drive to live out my dreams and everything that I aspire to be and aspire to do. I always set the bar high, and then, I set it higher than that. And God has been the center of everything, the most important anything to me. He's above everyone. He's above everything. He's above everywhere. And I couldn't do any of this without him. I couldn't function. I've been on the road when I've been sick and run down, and I didn't even know if I could get out of bed. And he got me out of bed. He gave me enough energy. And, I've had a few hours in between games. He's gotten me to different places. Whether it's a flight or dealing with weather or driving or money, resources, anything, God has always provided. And he knows the dreams that are in my heart. He knows the aspirations that I have, these little kid dreams that have become big kid dreams. And he knows everything that is written on my heart and in my mind, and he has never disappointed. He's never let me down. He's always found a way to just lead me and guide me and make me a better person. And he's taught me along the way humility. He's taught me about humbleness and kindness, generosity, being good to others that aren't good to you, learning when to talk and when not to, which sometimes is hard for a broadcaster, and, to celebrate my blessings, live in the moment, understand his plan is better than mine. So for everything that God has done for me and hopefully for you as you reflect on your life. I want to say welcome to this show. We have broadcasted from St. Augustine, from Orlando. We've done work in the Bahamas, Mexico, different parts of Texas, Pennsylvania, obviously the state of New York, the hub of my company, my hometown of Syracuse, New York. We've done broadcasts from Rhode Island, from North Carolina, from Georgia, from California, from Arizona, from Canada, and I think I said Massachusetts, but I'll say it again if I haven't. I said Rhode Island. Maybe I didn't say Massachusetts. I don't have words for the beauty of this dream and this vision, and I'm just getting started. I'm probably going to say that when I'm 97 years old. I hope that I have all my faculties and my senses, and my mind is strong, and my heart is strong, and my body and my body's strong. I know my soul always will be strong, and I hope that at 97 years old I'm still out here rocking it. I know I will be, by the grace of God, by the love of God, and I hope you are too, and I hope you will be too, and I hope that you get after it. This thing isn't about me. It's about God. It's about helping other people, and it's about just trying to do the right thing. So I am so happy to be here. We have a game to talk about, I know, and I just want to welcome you. Thank you for being here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City, coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. It is the place where you go for sales and service and for your next ride. If you're buying or leasing, you can go to Great Lakes Honda City. They have new and used vehicles, so don't miss a moment or an opportunity to get out to Great Lakes Honda City today. They are waiting to hear from you. Let them know that DT sent you. Of course, we are up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. So I am so happy to be here and so happy to be broadcasting live from Miami, Florida, to add Miami as yet another city that Wake Up Call has now broadcasted live from. So this has been a great experience. I had never been to South Beach. I can't say that anymore because now I have been to South Beach. So that was a really cool experience, and getting out to South Beach and getting to just be in that, and the water was perfect, and it felt good. I mean, you forget that it's January, that there's white stuff on the ground in Syracuse, New York, in my hometown, but that's not sand, and so it's more edible than sand, but that snow is obviously not sand, and I left a snowstorm a couple times this season to cover the college football playoff. So I want to thank the college football playoff for getting me away from snowstorms. I don't think they know that they did that, but I'm going to tell you right now that you did. So I want to thank you for that. And, just being here in this moment. Dylan said, God bless you too, Dylan. And hope you're having a great day. I got a really nice message from my buddy, and, he was with me way back, and I'm just really grateful for him. Just a fantastic human being, a wonderful person, Joe Forgione. I asked him to be a part of a broadcast that was called MU Courtside when I started my career, and I started at 18 years old, and this was a couple of years into it, and I asked Joe to be a part of it. I liked Joe's personality. I liked his knowledge. And then one day, and I'll never forget this, the thing that made me say, I have to get Joe on my team was actually something pretty unique. And, well, not unique, but it was something that had nothing to do with the job, one would think, but it had everything to do with the job. And that was when I saw Joe. I was at Regina Hall at Marywood University, where we both went to school, our alma mater. And I was there just sitting at Regina Hall at the front desk, and this girl walked by, and she had an L cart, and she was taking some of her stuff, and one of her boxes fell off, and he went right over to her and he helped her, and then he walked beside her to make sure that the box didn't fall off again. And he just has that character. He's a good human being. He's a quality human being. He's a wonderful person. And so, he sent me a message today, and it's moments like this. They do get me worked up because I love my people. And, when you meet somebody, especially in the industry that I'm in, which is, there's a lot of lies, backstabbing, a lot of theft when it comes to someone's work. A lot of people just stealing stories, stealing interviews. People watching my show, I guess, and then typing out the quote and then releasing a newspaper article. So you can't trust a lot of people in the industry that I'm in, but Joe Forgione's one of the people that I can, and he sent me a message literally just a few minutes ago. He said, "Crushing it, kid. Proud of you." And, those messages mean a lot because of who they come from. And, Joe is there for me. They say that a true friend fights for you in rooms that you are not in. And by that definition, which I agree with, Joe is a true friend. I was getting my tonsils out at 21 years old, and I was in the hospital. And it was the year of my graduation. I was missing time. It was my final semester in school. And, while I was in the hospital and then going home and, rehabbing my body for a month after having my tonsils taken out, there was a meeting at Marywood University to oust me from the job that I created. Well, I shouldn't say the job I created. There were broadcasts of games before, but I created MU Courtside. The name, the look, bringing a bunch of things to it, advancing, connecting with the athletic department. And so putting it on radio and TV simulcast. And, it was my first baby in my profession. And Joe was in a meeting, and there were actually teachers and administrators in that meeting that were seeking to oust me from my job while I was recovering in the hospital and then being at home. And he called me after the meeting, and it was kind of like, I can't believe that they would think that I would do this. He stood up for me, and he helped in not letting those that were supposed to be teaching me take from me the thing that I built, that they allegedly didn't even care about, they didn't put much of any effort into, didn't show up a lot of the times for, made it really difficult to get answers, kind of fussed when I needed something. And then they took credit for all my work and tried to get rid of me. And Joe sat in that room and with God didn't let it happen. So I will always be indebted to Joe Forgione for sticking up for me in a world where you don't always see that. You don't always see media people sticking up for media people. So I want to thank Joe for that and send you my love, Joseph. So you know that you should have it and you deserve it and you're a great human being. And, words coming from you hold a lot of weight. And so I value that and I appreciate that because we've worked so closely together. And I keep everything I do very close to my vest. I don't work with a lot of people. I got to shout out JT Molo. I got to shout out Amani Free, my guy Zach Bowden, of course, Joe Forgione, Brendan Murphy, Isaac Alford, Dave Paziak, Papa Joe, Ross Turetsky. It's not a long list. I mean, those names are over 22 plus years of people that I actually trust. And yeah, so I'm very grateful and I'm very honored and I'm happy to be here with you today. We're in Miami. I'm wearing the college football playoff. We're in the college football playoff. I'm already ready for next season. I called up my brother Isaac yesterday and God bless him. I got out of the game. It was past 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm heading out of the stadium. I just done my interviews. I just talked with the student athletes So Mikhail Kamara as well as on the defensive line. And then I spoke with Aiden Fisher, who had the first sack of the game, linebacker for Indiana, and I spoke with quarterback Fernando Mendoza about believing in Kurt Cignetti, believing in each other, him believing in them, and it all culminating in this perfect season and the first 16-0 record ever in the college football playoff era and a national championship, which Indiana has never had in football, but that can never be said again as of yesterday. So I got to speak with them, and I was walking out, and it's late, but to me, I mean, I'm working all hours of the day. Jason Lucas, my goodness, I should have said your name before. Speaking of it, as soon as I said I was working all hours of the day, Jason gets it. Like, we don't sleep. And 4 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the afternoon to us is the same. Even if we look outside and see that it's dark, it doesn't matter. So shout out to Jason for that. His work ethic, his determination, his dedication, being a brother to me, having his daughters be my nieces, his son up in heaven be my first ever niece or nephew. God bless to Carter and Carly and Gracie. I love you all, and I miss you all, and I hope to see you all soon. Carter, I will miss you forever until I get to see you, but I hope it's when I'm 100-something years old, and I hope you're making God laugh and having a good time and watching over your sisters and your parents and your grandparents, and if you have any time, watch over your Uncle Dan, but, be with everybody else because they need you more. So God bless, and thank you to all of you wonderful kids. But yeah, I mean, I'm walking out and I call Isaac and it's 1-something in the morning, and I thought maybe he would answer because we talk at all hours of the day, and he didn't. And so I was like, okay, well, he's probably sleeping, and that's fine. And then he called me just a few minutes later. He's like, I was in the shower. He had just finished watching the game, and he talked with me the whole bus ride back to the media hotel, and then spoke with me when I was getting my food. And at this point, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're still having a conversation. So, I just thank those that God brings to your life and you to their life. And that, essentially, I always think of the Simons, right? Simon helped Jesus carry the cross when nobody else would. And, I think about my Simons, which I named a bunch of them today. James, obviously just mentioned Jason, and got to give a shout out to Johnny and to Joey and, of course, to Rob and to Isaac. So this championship experience has been incredible. I had the best time of my life before the game was even played. I got here Friday night. I did media day on Saturday. I did the head coach's final press conference before the game on Sunday. I went to South Beach on Sunday. I told somebody I went on Saturday. I went on Sunday. So, sorry, Eric Palms. I was just talking to him about it. I couldn't remember what day I went. So I haven't eaten a lot in the last 2 days. Not because the food's not fantastic, but your boy's working, and it's always in my head you gotta eat, and then I'm just typing and broadcasting and running around and taking pictures and shooting video, and I just love that stuff. So I went out to South Beach on Sunday. That was crazy. Got to see the playlist for the college football playoff. I got to be on the beach. Got to see where the boats take off, where my mom and I were just a couple of years ago in this month of January when she surprised me for my birthday a couple of years ago, and she brought me on a cruise, first cruise of my life. She said, do you want to go with your mom, or do you think that's weird? And I'm like, I love my mom. I said, Ma, you bought me the ticket. You're coming with me. You got 2 tickets. I'm not taking anybody else. So, and we had a great time on the Disney Dream. And yeah, so I got to go by that. I got to go by the Miami Heat, which I had gone by that before a couple of years ago when I was down here with my mom in Miami. And, this entire experience has been phenomenal. The food has been fantastic. The media host hotel has been second to none. And everything has just been so, literally, if I had all of this and I didn't go to the game, I would have had a great experience. But the fact that the college football playoff allowed me once again to be credentialed for this, and just that's an honor in and of itself. There's 300-400 media in the whole world that get to be at the college football playoff national championship, and they had a historic season last year, going to a 12-team playoff for the first time ever, and I was there for that. thanks to God and the college football playoff and all the bowls. And this year, different city, different bowls in different places, and I'm back at the college football playoff national championship. And if the college football playoff will have me, I'm looking forward to next year and every year after. I'll be here for the rest of my life. I love the experience. I got to talk with Rich Clark, the executive director of the college football playoff committee. Got to have a one-on-one with him. When I released that, folks, every second of that was worth the years, the time that I waited to speak with Rich. I got to meet Brett Daniels in person, who is a big part of the college football playoff and getting us all the information that we need and helping to put this whole thing together. So, I appreciate Rich and Brett and the whole team at the college football playoff, the college football playoff committee. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't, but it's an incredibly difficult job, and it was great to talk with them. And of course, Eric Palms, Mike Leota, the Capital One Orange Bowl, working within the Orange Bowl committee, and Eric being the CEO of the Orange Bowl committee, and Mike running communications and helping us in the media. And just the longer I've known him, the more helpful and wonderful I've seen that he is as a human being. So, it's great when you meet somebody and the relationship only gets better, and you only like them more and appreciate them more and find them to be even more helpful as time goes by. That's what you hope for, right? You build a relationship, you hope it always trends upward, right? And so Mike and Eric have been great. They treat me like they've known me a heck of a lot longer than they have. And, them being the host and working with Miami and all these counties, it has this experience. I mean, the fact that the water looks the prettiest it's looked the entire time I've been here, and it's looked pretty. And the sky is blue with a few clouds, but, just blue skies. And it's just a wonderful looking day outside. I mean, this is poetic of everything that I experienced here in Miami. I don't know how Las Vegas tops it, but I went to the press conference this morning, and I'm sure that they will. And, experiencing that press conference makes me believe that this is going to be really cool. And that's why the show didn't come on at 9 a.m. Eastern time today. So I hope you saw it on social media, on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT, that we were going to be starting later. If you didn't, I apologize. If you came here at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock and we're like, hey, where's Dan? We had a 9 a.m. press conference with it's called the Champions News Conference. And so I had the opportunity to speak with Pat Coogan, who I really wanted to talk to, of the offensive line for Indiana. And I got to speak with Curt Cignetti, the head coach of Indiana, who I've spoken with numerous times. And I got to do that again this morning. And the other guys that were on the dais, Kamara, as well as Fisher and Mendoza, I've spoken with all of them. That's why I wanted to make sure I spoke with Pat, as he was the one person in the Champions News Conference that I hadn't talked to from the Hoosiers. And then after that, we had the handoff news conference of Miami handing off the helmet to Las Vegas, and the uniqueness of this. I mean, we know that Vegas is big-time entertainment. People come from all over the world to go to Vegas, and Vegas takes pieces of the world and puts them, all in one place and converges there. And I've never been to Vegas. I hope that the college football playoff will allow me to not be able to say that a year from today, or from this time period, because I will be down there. So I definitely am looking forward to it. The college football playoff has this rotation of their 6 bowl games that are in the quarters and the semifinals, and then those cities can be host cities for the college football playoff national championship, right? Be it Phoenix, Arizona with the Verbo Fiesta Bowl, or, with the Rose Bowl out in Pasadena, California, or you look at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, where you have Arlington, Texas, and then you have the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, where Peach Bowl Inc. was partnered up with the college football playoff for the national championship last season in the first 12-team playoff, and I was on site on location for that. Thanks to Gary Stokin, Matt Garvey, Dylan Faulkner, and the entire team there. And of course, that experience was great. So you have Atlanta, Georgia for the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. And so you have the All-State Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I'm sitting here thinking, did I hit everyone? So Rose Bowl in California, You got the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona. You have the Cotton Bowl in Texas. That's 3. You have the Capital One Orange Bowl here in Miami. And then you have New Orleans for the All-State Sugar. You have the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, and then the Peach Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia, to round it out. So you have New Orleans, Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington area. You have Miami, Florida. You have Phoenix, Arizona. You have Pasadena, California. And what am I missing here? Did I name them all? Texas, California, Arizona. I'm sitting here. It's been a lot. I have not slept a lot. I think I slept maybe 3 hours last night. So it's California, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, Georgia. Who am I missing here? There's a bowl game that's escaping me right now. Rose, Cotton, Fiesta, Orange, Sugar. Rose, Cotton, Fiesta, Orange, Sugar, and Peach. No, we got them. We have them all. I don't know. In my brain, I thought I was missing one. The thing that always helps me out is when you take like a pen to a pad and you just work it out that way, right? So you got your All-State that's in New Orleans. Speaking of the 6 bowls that are in the college football playoff, and then you have the Peach Bowl that's in Atlanta. You have the Rose that's in Pasadena. You have the Fiesta that's in Phoenix. And then you have the Cotton, which is in Arlington, Texas, and then you have Miami for the Orange. Yeah, I got them all. So to you, you're sitting here going, Dan, you've said the 6 for like 12 minutes, but my brain, again, I ate 2 meals, but I didn't eat the 2 meal. Well, technically 3, we had a late night meal, but didn't really eat a lot last night. Didn't really sleep a lot. So I was up packing to make sure that I could make my day easier today. So yeah, so when you look at New Orleans, Atlanta, Pasadena, Phoenix, Arlington, and Miami, the 2027 College Football Playoff National Championship is in a place that is not one of these 6 cities that have one of the 6 bowls that are in the road to the College Football Playoff, be it a quarterfinal or semifinal game from year to year as they rotate. So this is a unique situation, and something I spoke with Rich Clark about, that we have Vegas coming into the fray here with Allegiant Stadium. So definitely looking forward to it, looking forward to the experience, hoping by the grace of God and the goodness of God and the college football playoff and everybody involved that I'll have the opportunity to be there in Las Vegas to see this happen. But as we're here in Miami, let's talk about the game. I mean, this game it started out highly defensive. There was only 1 sack in the first half. That 1 sack went to Aiden Fisher, linebacker of the Indiana Hoosiers, who got to Carson back. And after not having a sack in the first 30 minutes of play in that first half, it took Miami a very short amount of time in the third quarter to record 3 sacks in the third quarter alone. And they did a tremendous job. It was really amazing, and I cannot say enough about that defense. You know, Akeem Mesidor getting to Fernando Mendoza twice, and Ruben Bain Jr. getting to Fernando Mendoza as well. I saw them both working out with Jason Tatler, their defensive line coach, who obviously spent so many years with the Miami Dolphins. So Miami knows him well. Hard Rock Stadium knows him well. And so to see him out there was really, really great. And that was a treat. I got a great video of him, got a great video of Carson Beck warming up, got a great video of Fernando Mendoza warming up. And yeah, so I mean, this game started off defensive in the first half. And then in the second half, Again, what did we say going into that? I said it over and over and over again. I said it's going to come down to who can get the other team to turn the ball over and can they capitalize. And I said that. I said that's what it's going to come down to. Which team turns the ball over? Who's the team that forces the turnover? And what do they do once they force that turnover? That team was Indiana, and they responded by scoring. And that's how they win this game. You had a field goal by Nico Radicic in the first quarter with 2:42 left, 34-yard field goal. And then Riley Nowakowski, who I had a fantastic time talking with, spoke with him at Media Day, spoke with him on the field with the stage right behind him and all the confetti on the ground after Indiana won their first ever college football national championship, be it the college football playoff, BCS, or anything. And so I got to speak with Riley, which was great. And I also respect the fullback and tight end position. So it was cool to talk with him and speak with one of his former teammates from Wisconsin and just have really good conversation about God's plan being better than ours, which I've found out more and more now that I paid more and more attention to it. And in the third quarter, Miami was able to score in less than 4 minutes to open up the second half. Mark Fletcher took off for a 57-yard run. It was ironic because Miami had a bunch of drives in the first half that ended in 3 and outs. And so 3 plays and the drive's over. Well, in this case, Miami had a touchdown and it was 2 plays and the drive was over, but for a good reason, and that being Mark Fletcher taking off for 57 yards. It looked like in this game he was trying to will this team to win and just put them on his back. And obviously the offensive line and the work that they did. Carson Beck had some heroics late in the game. And Isaiah Jones, they had a blocked punt. And so you got to give it up to special teams, which doesn't get the credit that they deserve. And blocking that punt came from Kamara. Jones fell on it in the end zone. So that's a special teams touchdown. That made it 17-7. So you got a 10-0 game after the first half in favor of Indiana. Miami responds in less than 4 minutes to open the second half to make it 10-7. And then you got a response after that. And it was a little over 6 minutes later that you have that special teams touchdown. Then in the fourth quarter, Mark Fletcher gets in the end zone again. It's back to a 3-point game. But Indiana, what they did the whole game is they responded. So Mendoza, he takes off. This was on a drive where Curt Cignetti, the head coach of the Hoosiers, left his offense on the field on 4th and 5 when they were up 17-14 in a tight game. You make a mistake, you fumble the ball, you throw an interception, you turn the ball over on downs without punting it. There's a lot of things that can happen. Curt showed his faith in his players, the staff showed their faith in the players, and the players came through and believed in themselves and had faith in each other and faith in themselves. And on that drive where Fernando Mendoza scored, Curt Cignetti kept him on the field on 4th and 5 and 4th and 4. And on this play, on 4th and 4, he gets 12 yards and goes in, bounces like a pinball, gets hit, looks like he might go down, gets hit again, and now you're thinking, okay, he's definitely going down, and then turns around and extends his arms over the goal line for the touchdown. Miami responded with a 22-yard pass from Carson Beck to Malachi Toney on this drive. He had a 22-yard pass to tight end Alex Bauman, a 41-yard pass play to Malachi Toney, and then shortly after a 22-yard pass play where Malachi Toney willed himself into the end zone and had 1 or 2 times where he could have been stopped and just kept pushing his body forward to cross the goal line into glory territory. So this made it a 3-point game again. And with 1:42 to go, Nico Radicic had a 35-yard field goal that made it 27-21. I told you at the beginning of the game, I wanted this to be a one-possession game down the stretch. I was, hoping for overtime, but at least to have a one-possession game for this to be a close, hard-fought game where either team could win at the end. And Miami had a shot. They had just under a minute. They were on the 41-yard line of Indiana. Carson Beck aired it out. The pass was short, and Jamari Sharp jumped the route and ended the game. So, again, who made the turnovers? Miami. Who made the mistakes? Miami. Who capitalized on them? Indiana. And that was exactly what I told you going into the game. I said it's going to be who can force the turnovers and what do they do with those turnovers. So which team is going to force them, and those teams that force them, will they capitalize and will they score? Indiana forced the turnovers. They scored off of the turnovers and the mistakes by Miami. Miami, despite the mistakes and a missed 50-yard field goal, which I felt that wind when that kick went up from Carter Davis. I felt like I felt the wind, and I was at the other end zone watching him on the other side. And, it's like the kick went up, you see it go, and it's going right, and it's going right. And then you hear the fans respond as it goes to the right of the uprights, and I could feel a breeze go across my face. The breeze did get, it was cold, but then it got better as the game went on. But I feel like I felt that breeze come across my face from left to right, and then you saw the ball go from left to right. So, wind could have had played a factor in that, of course. But, despite the missed field goal, despite the special teams blocked punt and recovery for the touchdown, despite Fernando Mendoza getting hit and the defense not taking him down, despite not recording a sack in the first half, despite not scoring a point in the first half, Miami, with less than a minute to go, was within one possession. If they scored a touchdown, they would have won the game. So, credit to Miami for being in the game despite the mistakes. Credit to Indiana for being the team that I thought would decide who the champion was, which is the team that forced the mistakes and capitalized on them. It was a wonderful, wonderful game. And, by the numbers to take a look at how everything went. By the way, you can read the article, and I'm going to share the article on I'm going to share it on YouTube, Podbean, and on Facebook on all of our outlets. So I'm just going to share the link for you if you want to read it. And so the link to the article that you can go and check out this morning, it's entitled "Indiana Hoosiers Win First Football Title in Undefeated Season." So a very clear title there as to what we're talking about, and I'm going to go ahead and share that in each of our chat rooms, so to speak. So in our feed on Podbean, I just shared it. Now I'm sharing it in our feed on Facebook, and I'm also sharing it instantaneously to our feed on YouTube. So you can feel free to read my entire game story from start to finish and enjoy that, and hopefully relive it or live it for the first time if you didn't have a chance to watch the game or see the game. So, by the numbers, Carson Beck, 19 of 32, 232, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Mark Fletcher crossed 100 yards, 17 carries, 112, 6.6 yards a carry, 2 rushing touchdowns. Shamar Brown had 3 carries for 5 yards. Malachi Toney crossed 100 yards receiving. So Malachi, 10 receptions, 122 yards, and a touchdown. So you look at Malachi's numbers, you look at, Mark's numbers, Mark Fletcher, and both of these guys put up big numbers. C.J. Daniels had some good catches here, 4 catches, 62 yards. Alex Ballman had that 22-yard catch. Shamar caught a pass out of the backfield, so did Mark Fletcher. And we saw Carson Beck go to Keelan Marion more than once, and he had 1 grab here, but one of them was rolled not a catch, and then the interception that Carson Beck threw at the end of the game, the underthrown pass, was to Keelan Marion. So there's that side of it as well. Offensively for Indiana on the winning side, Fernando Mendoza, 16 to 27, 186 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. As far as passing goes, Kalon Black led the way, 17 carries, 79 yards, 4.6 yards a carry. Roman Hemby, 19 carries, 60 yards, 3.2 yards a carry. Fullback tight end Riley Nowakowski had 1 of 2 rushing touchdowns for the team, 1 carry, 1 yard. And Fernando Mendoza had the other one that he brought over the goal line on the drive where Kurt Cignetti kept the team on for 4th and 5 and 4th and 4, and he was able to finish the last 12 yards when it looked like a design run because he hiked the ball and made it look like he was going to kind of – it didn't look like he looked in the field, didn't see anything, and then took off. It looked like he faked like he was going to look to pass and then immediately took off and just showed his heart and his guts getting to the end zone. when we look at defense, Mohamed Toure had 11 total tackles to lead Miami, 6 solo, and then he was followed by Ruben Bain Jr. and Wesley Besainth, who both had 8 total tackles. And then Zachariah Poisner and Jacoby Thomas had 6 apiece. Ethan O'Connor had 5. Ahmad Moten Sr. had 5. Akeem Mesidor had 2 sacks on the day. Ruben Bain Jr. had 1. And as far as tackles for a loss, Ruben Bain had 2.5. Wesley Besainth had 0.5. Ahmad Moten Sr. had 1. Akeem Mesidor had 2, which were the sacks, and 67 total tackles for the team. On the other side of it for Indiana, who was playing more offense than defense because they weren't making the mistakes, and that's what I said going into it. Indiana doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and other people talked about it. They don't beat themselves. They didn't fumble the ball. They didn't throw an interception. They didn't have a punt blocked. They didn't miss a field goal. They don't make a lot of mistakes. That's why I picked them to win the national championship. Lewis Moore led the way for them, 7 total tackles, 4 solo. Jamari Sharp, who had the interception to end the game, he had 6 total tackles. D'Angelo Pons had 5 and a big hit in one of these plays here. Devin Boykin had 4. Mikhail Kamara had 4. Mario Landino had 4. Elijah Hardy and Aiden Fisher had 4 as well. The sack went to Aiden Fisher. It was the only time that they got to the quarterback. So Indiana got to the quarterback before Miami did, though Miami did get close to getting to Fernando Mendoza in the first half. But it's funny how things shake out, where Aiden Fisher recorded the first sack by either team in the game and did it in the first half. And then there was no sacks on Carson back after that. So shout out to the Miami offensive line. And then as far as tackles for a loss, it was just that one. So the numbers weren't great. But the defense didn't have to be out there as long. So, there's that side to it too, right? Your defense is out there longer. You're going to rack up some more tackles. So, that's how it looks by the numbers. And then as far as kicking goes, Carter Davis attempted that 50-yard field goal and missed it. And so he was 0 for 1 on the day. You had 5 punts by both sides. Dylan Joyce had a punt blocked, and the 5 that he got off were 234 yards in total. Mitch McCarthy had 5 punts as well for 241 yards. Mitch had 2 inside the 20, and Joyce had 2 inside the 20 as well. Nico Radisic was 2 for 2 in his field goals, 34 yards and 35 yards, 3 for 3 on his extra points. And Carter Davis was 3 for 3 on his extra points in this game as well. So that's how the teams break down by the numbers. We're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we will wrap things up from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios on the road in Miami the morning after, and I'll talk with you about why the show had to go later today, and a little bit more about what I got to do and what's to come on Wake Up Call that you should be looking out for, so stay with us.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We are coming to you live on site, on location in Miami, Florida, coming off of the college football playoff national championship the morning after, the afternoon after now, and just experiencing this whole thing. I do want to make mention of Charlie Becker, who has been, he was incredible in this game. So Joe said, glad that Indiana beat I'm not going to say that word, but the offense and defense. Yeah, I'm not going to say that. So I'm not going to say it, but we did. Joe, I did see your comment. So sometimes people write opinions, and some of these words are not savory for a family show. So I talked about the receiving for Miami, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the receiving for Indiana. I want to make sure I did that. And I was actually on the break, saw a clip, or saw a note about Charlie Becker, and I was like, oh my goodness. I didn't say anything about him yet. Omar Cooper Jr., 5 catches that led Indiana 71 yards. Charlie Becker, 4 for 65. Elijah Surratt, 3 for 28. Riley Nowakowski, including his rushing touchdown, had 2 receptions for 17 yards. Roman Hemby out of the backfield had 2 for 5. And Charlie Becker, he was phenomenal. He was one of the players of the game. It's crazy that on one drive, he helped keep the drive alive when Fernando Mendoza looked to him in single coverage on the right sideline for a 19-yard gain. And then in a drive that came after that, Fernando Mendoza, to keep the drive alive, looked to Charlie Becker on the right sideline for a 19-yard gain. So it was the same place, same amount of yards. Same place on the field when it comes to right sideline, same amount of yards. And Charlie Becker, number 80, he came through in a big way. And, people talk about Omar Cooper Jr. and Elijah Surratt, and you got to also mention the Riley Nowakowskis and the Charlie Beckers. I had the opportunity to speak with Pat Coogan on the offensive line and head coach Curt Cignetti about the value of an offensive line. I said, you never hear about an offensive line when they do things right. You only hear about them when they make mistakes. They're typically not in the limelight. They're typically not spoken about unless it's negative. And, this offensive line throughout the entire season helped the team to have a perfect season and their first ever national championship. So I'll be sharing that special video from the Champions News Conference with Pat Coogan, which was one of the reasons why we didn't go on the air this morning in our normal time of 9 a.m. because we had the Champions News Conference, and then we had the handoff news conference of Miami handing things off to Las Vegas, who's going to have the 2027 College Football Playoff National Championship at the culmination of the 2026-27 season, which has already begun, folks, because as we head toward the end of January, then we have another signing day, and in early February, and then in March, we're back to camp. So the longer I've covered, I don't think I've ever covered college football as deeply as I did this year. We've talked about it, but the amount of, just the national coverage that's been going on here, and, putting out my top 25s, researching conferences and teams and records, and, this team is undefeated, but who did they play, and who's left on their schedule, and Tier 1 through Tier 4 wins and losses, and who do I have in Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and Tier 4? Do I agree with some of the national rankings? Do I disagree with some of the national rankings? Running through the chaos theory, which happened. Shout out to Shane, who also predicted that chaos theory with me, and Shane of the league winners. So that was fun having him and Thomas on of the league winners. And, definitely make sure you check out their show. I've been on a lot of Tuesday nights and had the opportunity to talk with those gentlemen on their broadcast around 9 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday nights, and a lot about college football. But yeah, I don't think I've ever covered college football as deeply as I cover it right now. And it's not that I didn't cover it. It's not that we haven't done interviews for many, 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 many years. But there was a time where I brought in recruiting and I started talking to high school and prep kids. And I can say that, this year is another one of those moments of my coverage of college football where I could say I've never gone this deep into my national coverage. I've never been this multi-layered, challenged myself this much. And, I intend to have God and myself challenge me this upcoming year to go even deeper into it and get even more involved. I can't wait to share with you my one-on-one conversation. Yes, I said one-on-one conversation. I've waited a while to talk to someone from the College Football Playoff Committee, and to be able to speak with their executive director, Rich Clark, is a true honor. And to also be able to talk with Brett Daniels of the College Football Playoff, also a true honor. To give you a little bit of history of Rich Clark, who's the executive director of the College Football Playoff. In 1986, he got a Bachelor of Science Management from U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado. In 1991, a Distinguished Graduate Squadron Officer School, Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. In 1994, a Master of Arts, Human Resource Development, Webster University in St. Louis, Missouri. In 1996, Distinguished Graduate U.S. Air Force Weapons School in Ellsworth, AFB, South Dakota. In 1998, a Distinguished Graduate Master of Strategic Studies, Naval Command and Staff College, Naval War College, Newport, Rhode Island. I love Newport, Rhode Island. That area is beautiful. Was there for many years for the American Athletics summer kickoff for their football programs. 1999, the Master of Air Power Studies, School of Advanced Air and Space Studies, Maxwell AFB in Alabama. 2005, Distinguished Graduate Master of National Security Studies, National War College, Fort Leslie J. McNair in Washington, D.C. 2006, National Security Manager's Course in my hometown, Syracuse University in Syracuse, New York. 2010, U.S.-Russia Security Program, Harvard University, Cambridge, Massachusetts. 2014, Joint Flag Officer, Warfighting Course, Maxwell AFB in Alabama. 2015, Joint Force Air Component Commander Course in Maxwell AFB in Alabama. And in 2017, Pinnacle Course, National Defense University, Fort Leslie J. McNair in Washington, D.C. He joined the College Football Playoff after a distinguished 38-year career in the Air Force, retiring with the rank of Lieutenant General. Most recently served as Superintendent of the U.S. Air Force Academy, where he directed a 4-year regimen of military training, academics, athletic, and character development programs, leading to a Bachelor of Science degree and a commission as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Air Force and U.S. Space Force. So, shout out to Rich Clark. I cannot wait to air my conversation with the executive director of the College Football Playoff. And thanks to him, Brett Daniels, and the entire team with the College Football Playoff and the College Football Playoff Committee. This year, we were almost completely in lockstep of what they chose for the 12 and what I had for my prediction. So great to see what they had and great to move forward. You're not going to want to, every question I got to ask Rich would have been great if it was just that question by itself, like what he gave me. And we have multiple questions in a one-on-one conversation that you definitely don't want to miss. It's going to air on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT today after I do this live broadcast, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT, also on youtube.com/Wake Up Call DT. So final notes here in the ingredients to success that we do every Tuesday to wrap up the show, proudly presented by the wonderful team at Avicoli's. Head to Avicoli's 7 days a week on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. It's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road. You can stand at the light at Avicoli's and look down the street to your left from Avicoli's, and you will see Liverpool High School. It is within walking distance and within sight, and we're there every single month with Liverpool Athletics, celebrating their administration, their coaches, their student athletes, and, of course, the greater community of Liverpool, Central, and Upstate New York. In the Ingredients to Success, brought to you exclusively by Avicoli's every Tuesday on Wake Up Call. Today's topic is outside noise has no value. Both coaches talked about this. Both coaches addressed this. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Indiana, he said it, Kurt Cignetti, the head coach of the Hoosiers, said it after the game. I was sitting in there, front row, in the press conference at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. And he said a lot of you didn't think we could make it here, didn't think we could win a championship. And when he said that, he looked up and looked around the room, made sure to take his eyes up and gaze the room and say, some of you, by what he showed with his eyes, it's like some of you might be sitting in the room right now. And listen, I wasn't sold on Indiana last year. I didn't think Indiana should have made the CFP last year. I didn't. This year, my whole thing was I thought they played an easier schedule, but I said once they start playing, somebody that's a tier 1 and they beat them, then okay, now we're talking. Now I'm going to say, okay, maybe this team is for real. Now, they don't need me to say that. They don't need any outside noise to say that, and I'm outside noise to Indiana, right? Whether it's positive or negative, I'm not in there. I'm not on the field. I'm not working with coach and the student athletes and the staff. I'm looking at things from the outside looking in. And even with talking with players and whatnot and talking with coaches and the head coach, the head man himself, Kurt Cignetti, I'm not in practice. I'm not in film study. I'm not in the weight room. I'm not on the track for this team. And so I'm not seeing them on a day-to-day level. And they know better than me. They did. And I thought I didn't know how this team was going to play against tier 1 opponents. And I thought that last season, in the 2024-25 season, they didn't play, even though they were 11-1, the only team that they played that was ranked was Ohio State, and Ohio State blew them out. And I thought, okay, so you got 11 unranked wins. That's punishable in the American. It's punishable in the Sun Belt. It's punishable in the MAC. It's punishable in Conference USA. It's punishable in whatever the Pac has become with their 2 teams of Washington State and Oregon State before they expand very soon. So, and in the Mountain West, outside of Boise State, right, it's punishable to go 11-1. So I just thought, if you're going to have these rules of playing unranked teams and then losing to the only ranked team you play, what does 11-1 really mean if you're saying 11-1 is good for Indiana, but it's not good for North Texas or UCF or Houston or Cincinnati and so on and so forth? And that was my argument. And they lost to Notre Dame. And I still think Army earned the right to get that butt whooping, and I thought Army should have been there instead of having 4 teams from the Big Ten. And then this year, I watched Indiana, and they were playing well, and they were doing well. Never said they were a bad team. Never said that they were poorly coached. Never said they didn't have talent. I actually defended Fernando Mendoza's last season at Cal and said he had good numbers last year, for those of you that may or may not have paid attention to it. He has better numbers now, but he had good numbers last year. And so Yeah, I mean, I didn't say a bad thing about Indiana. All I said was they played a weak schedule. And by the numbers, it was a weak schedule at the time I talked about it when they were 8-0 and how the teams were doing that they played up against and how the majority of the teams that they play in the Big Ten had a very well under 500 record inside of the conference and were at the time 35-35 overall. Their last four opponents were 1-17 in the Big Ten before they played them. And some of those teams were winless in the Big Ten, and obviously Penn State wasn't the Penn State that people were hoping that they would be this season. They lost their starting quarterback. They fired their head coach. And, less than 365 days from him getting Penn State to their first ever college football playoff berth, getting a win in the college football playoff, and that win being his 100th win overall as a head coach. And now James Franklin's at Virginia Tech because Penn State let him go. So, yeah, I mean, I never said anything about the talent or the worth of Indiana. I just thought that they were put high in the rankings without having those Tier 1 wins. I said, have a Tier 1 win, and we're talking about something else, and they did. They beat Ohio State. I said, all right, Tier 1. They're going to be the number 1 overall seed. I picked them to beat Alabama. I picked them to beat Oregon. So I picked them to be in the national championship game. I picked Miami to be in the national championship game. I didn't think about it in the moment because I was going round by round. But every time Miami came up on the schedule in their 3 games leading into the championship, I picked Miami. And every time Indiana came in the schedule in their 2 games leading up to the championship, I picked Indiana. And then when push came to shove, my knee-jerk reaction, or I shouldn't call it knee-jerk, my initial reaction was to pick Indiana. And then I thought about it. And then I was like, do I go Miami? And I was 51-49, and I picked Indiana. I leaned on that, and actually one of the last conversations before I went to the stadium yesterday was in the media hotel. I got on the elevator with an Indiana fan, and we were talking about the game and this and that, and then I looked at her, and I said, well, it was a tough decision for me, and it was like 51-49, but I said ultimately I picked Indiana, and she was happy about that, and Indiana ended up winning it. I think Miami had a fantastic season. They don't have anything to hang their heads about. People are going to scrutinize them. And there's this thing about being in the media world of, having an opinion about everything and forgetting that they're human beings. And I got to check myself on this sometimes too. And that's, are you talking to people and about people the way that you want to be talked to and spoken about? Are you treating people the way that you would want to be treated? If somebody was critiquing your job, are you doing this constructively or destructively? Are you doing it in a moral and ethical way? Or are you attacking and did you go too far? And so, I think reflecting on this, now you're going to see these things like, is Carson Beck an NFL quarterback? Is Fernando Mendoza worth taking number 1? Should he want to go to the Raiders, who are so bad, because can they protect him? What's he going to look like in the NFL? If he struggles in the NFL, well, was he just a good system guy for Curt Cignetti, or is he a good NFL quarterback? Are the coordinators going to leave? Are they going to go to NFL teams? Are they going to go to other college teams? Are they going to ask for more money? These are all the questions that happen after you win a championship, and none of them have to do with winning the championship, celebrating, going home, going on vacation, hanging out with your family, kissing your girlfriend, hugging your mom, calling your dad, spending time with your family, going out and seeing your grandparents. Curt Cignetti, he said, I'm going to go somewhere down south to a beach somewhere, spend time with his wife, reflect on his dad, I'm sure, or I would think. And so yeah, I mean, there's very human responses to winning a championship where the media is already like, okay, let's talk about next year. Last night, they were running the odds of teams winning the college football playoff in Vegas in 2027, and we were still within the heartbeat of the game ending on the field in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium. So, I mean, that's just craziness, and I mean, they're talking about the NFL draft, talk about Carson Beck, talk about Fernando Mendoza, talking about who's staying, who's going, who's in the transfer portal, who's going to be in the draft from the defensive side of the ball, who's going to go from the offensive side. Are guys happy? What's the future look like? Can the younger Alberto Mendoza, can he stack up to what his brother did? They're going to make comparisons. Do they have to go get somebody in the portal? Miami, can they keep it together? Are guys going to leave because they didn't win the championship? Is there any staff that's going to leave? Are guys going to stay true? Are guys actually coming back that talked about coming back? Is Carson Beck going to be a first-round pick or a second-round pick or a third-round pick? Or is he going to be on day 3? Is somebody getting a steal with him? Is he really that good? Is he the reason why they lost? Da-da-da-da-da. I mean, you already know. I mean, I've been in this thing long enough. I just gave you a bunch of lines that you would see run at the top of a newspaper article or run on the ticker on television. And I think the one that we have to sit here and think about is Miami won a championship. Very few teams get to do it. Very few schools and fan bases get to celebrate it. Very few communities get to experience it. And very few people get to physically be on site for it of the amount of fans that Indiana actually has. You never want the night to end. I mean, I loved being in Miami, getting here Friday, having Saturday, having Sunday, and having all day, most of the day Monday before I headed over to the game. And once the game was over, I'm sitting here like, wait, is there more stuff to do? Are there more events to be had? Like, I want to stay in Miami. I loved my experience in Miami. I loved my experience at the hotel. I loved the hospitality. I loved things I never got to be around before, like a rooftop pool, certain food that I've tried, places that I've been, going to South Beach, going to the concert series for the college football playoff for the first time ever, stumbling upon that by mistake, meeting people, getting to build relationships, meeting people with the college football playoff, getting to speak with Rich Clark, getting to meet Brett Daniels face-to-face, knowing his name, getting to be around the Gary Stokens and the Scotty Rogers and the Matt Garveys and the Mike Leotas and Charlie and Eric Palms and, all of that, to being able to go to the Champions News Conference, which I didn't go to last year because of my flight, and getting to go to the Handoff News Conference, which I didn't get to go to last year because of my flight. So there's a lot of things, to getting on the field last night when you don't know if that's going to happen, right? You don't I was a kid that always wanted to go on the field and believed that I could get on the field, but when you actually have somebody look at your badge and say, okay, come in, and you stand there, you're just take it in. It's there's a team that won a championship, but I'm celebrating something else. I'm celebrating the fact, and I think I said it in my post-game video, that was photobombed, video bombed by the Indiana Hoosiers mascot, which made for one of the greatest moments that I can ever say happened instantaneously on the show here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. But I mean, I pointed to the top of the stadium and I said, I used to sit up there, right? And people didn't think I would get out of the 300 section to the 200 section, let alone stand on the field. And I mean, this has been a great journey. It's been a great run. I'm super proud of Mario Cristobal and his staff. I'm super proud of Kurt Signetti and his staff. I'm super proud to know that there's 3 16-0 teams in Division I. When it comes to the NCAA, Yale did it back in 1894. There was no championship game. North Dakota State Bison did it in 2019-20. And that season was in FCS, so they won an FCS national championship and went 16-0, but no one's ever gone 16-0 in the FBS with a championship on the line, and of course never in the college football playoff era. And there's also never been a team that played in their home stadium for a championship game in the college football playoff. So even though they lost, that was history for Miami. I got to be around Ed Reed. I walked by Michael Irvin, got to see Jason Taylor pretty close, Carson Beck, Fernando Mendoza again. This entire thing has made my world really small, taken all these people on television and all these huge things and said, don't ever think anything's bigger than you. So I can thank God for all these moments. I can appreciate God for all these moments. I want to thank, God, and like I said, the college football playoff. I want to thank my family that's blood and that's not blood. I want to thank every doubter, every hater, every person that's tried to stand in my way, everyone that's talked bad about me, that's tried to keep me from something, that's tried to push me down, make me quit, make me fail, make me be afraid. I thank you all, because I wouldn't be as strong as I am, and I wouldn't be here today if not for the negativity. So, outside noise, by definition, belongs outside, and that's our topic for the ingredients to success. And all that matters is knowing that God loves you and you loving yourself. If you can know those things, practice those things, and really believe those things, you can't fail. So, cheers to succeeding. Cheers to another life, another chapter in our lives being written. Cheers to Indiana making history. Cheers to the Big Ten, which I, think gets an unfair advantage in the polls. Well, they've shown in these last few years that maybe they are the best conference in college football right now. So they've opened up my eyes wider and maybe changed my opinion. And yeah, keep the outside noise outside and be ready for your blessings when they come. God doesn't make mistakes, and he did so many things on this trip and through the whole college football playoff and my whole career of crossing my paths with people, to things that are said, things that happen, things that work out, network connections that are made. There are no coincidences in life. They're God incidences. And I hope to be back next year to continue to tell you the story. I hope you all listen Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I love you all. Can't thank you enough for your support and everybody that's followed me through my coverage. Those of you that have been here, those of you that just got here, welcome to Wake Up Call. You'll find us Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Of course, you could search Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, YouTube, and more. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Subscribe, follow, download. It's all free. Big time thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners, Great Lakes, Honda City, Carvel, DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Myers Creek, Bryan's Landing, K9 Camp, Dog Daycare, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, Pizza Man, Game Point Sports Complex, Chick-fil-A DeWitt, Mother's Cupboard, K9 Campground Dog Boarding, Avicoli's, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse, your Binghamton University Bearcats, and your OCC Lasers. You can find them all by going to youtube.com/WakeUpCallDT. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell. Find our BSC playlist for the Bobcats, our Binghamton playlist for the Bearcats, and our OCC playlist for the Lasers. They're all on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab for more information. On the Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. For the Bearcats, go to binghamtonbearcats.com. And for the Lasers, go to onondaga.lasers.com. For now, from Miami, with another opportunity, another blessing from God to be able to broadcast from another city in this world on this great spinning rock, this hotel that we are on until we go back to heaven, God willing. I want to say thank you all for tuning in. I cannot thank enough the college football playoff. I cannot thank enough the people that I have met that have trusted my work and given me a chance. Thank you to all the Bulls that have opened doors to me, all the SIDs, all the Athletic Communications Department, and College Football Playoff for opening the door to me. I hope it only gets bigger and better from here. I'm humbled by God's love, no ego, all grace, all love, all paying it forward, and all just understanding that God is great all the time, and all the time God is great, even in the tough times. Shout out to Indiana. Congrats to Indiana and Miami on tremendous seasons. Thanks to everybody that was in this college football season. We look forward to seeing you soon. NCAA D1, D2, D3, JUCO, wherever you come from, international. God bless to you all, the high schools, prep schools out there, Pee Wee football. We're looking forward to seeing you all very soon. And, of course, the NFL continues in pro football, and, of course, the CFL, the UFL, and more. Thanks to Avicoli's for the ingredients to success. Have a wonderful day. Keep the outside noise outside. And from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, and one more time from Miami, Florida, I say, God bless, no stress. Do your best. This is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Thank you to everybody that's been so gracious, so kind, so giving. And thank you, above all, God, for putting me in the right path, meeting the right people, and everything working out far better than I ever thought. I love you. Thank you. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. I proudly live my life. Once again, college football playoff national championship down here in Miami. Hopefully see you in Vegas this upcoming year. God bless.